Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep today into something I think hits home for a lot of us. Regret, yeah. But we're looking at it from a pretty interesting perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got a podcast episode called Letting Go of Regret, Embracing God's New Beginnings.
Okay.
And there's this powerful prayer that goes with it. Now, whether you're spiritual or not, stick with us,
Okay.
okay? Because these sources have some seriously insightful stuff on healing and moving forward no matter what you believe.
You hit the nail on the head. Regret, it's something everyone goes through.
Right.
We all have those moments where we wish we could just rewind and do things differently.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating to me is how these sources tap into, like, biblical wisdom.
Okay, so let's break it down.
Yeah.
The podcast episode, it starts by just acknowledging that regret, it's totally normal.
Right.
It's not about pretending you don't feel it. It's about finding a healthier way to deal with it.
Exactly.
And it turns to the Bible for some guidance.
Right. And one of the verses it highlights is from Ecclesiastes 7.10.
Okay.
And it basically says, don't dwell on the past. It's pointless to keep asking, like, why things were better before. And this really touches on something we all struggle with,
Yeah.
that whole romanticizing the past thing.
Mhm.
But the source reminds us that that often keeps us from appreciating the good things happening right now in our lives.
It's so true. It's like we get stuck in those what ifs and if onlys,
Yeah.
and we completely miss what's right there in front of us.
Exactly. And speaking of missing out, the podcast episode brings up Isaiah 43.18-19. This one reminds us about new beginnings.
Oh, yeah.
It's like even when we're stuck in that quicksand of regret, there's this bigger force out there,
Yeah.
that's constantly creating something new and offering us a fresh start.
You know what really got to me? It was Philippians 3.13-14. It paints this picture, of forgetting what lies behind and straining toward what lies ahead.
Yeah.
It's like an athlete, right? Pushing for the finish line, eyes on the prize, totally focused on the goal.
That's such a powerful analogy. It really emphasizes that moving on from regret isn't passive. It takes work
Right,
and a conscious choice to shift focus from the past to the future.
right. We have to actually engage with the present and choose to move forward. And then there's Romans 8.28. This one I found comforting. It suggests that even our mistakes, even the things we regret the most, can be used for good.
Like they become part of a bigger story.
Yeah.
Growth and transformation. They might be painful,
Yeah.
but they can shape us into who we're meant to be.
And all of this ties into the prayer we have. It's specifically designed to help us let go of that regret and step into those new beginnings.
Yes, and it highlights so many of the themes we've been talking about. It asks for that strength to let go. It encourages us to trust in something bigger than ourselves, and it reminds us to be grateful for those new beginnings.
But I think the question for some people might be, what if I'm not particularly religious? Does all of this still apply to me?
That's a great question, and honestly, I think it does. Even if you don't subscribe to a specific faith, the core messages, they resonate. Acknowledging that dwelling on the past is not productive, choosing to focus on the present and the future, seeking support from others, those are valuable tools for anyone, no matter their beliefs.
And I think even the practical steps the podcast suggests are super helpful whether you're religious or not.
Mm-hmm.
Things like taking time for quiet reflection or meditation, setting goals for yourself, celebrating even small wins, finding a supportive community.
Right.
All of these can help us break free from that cycle of regret.
What's insightful is how each step plays a part in shifting our mindset and our actions. It's not about erasing the past, it's changing how we relate to it
Right.
and giving ourselves permission to move forward.
So it's about taking those steps to create a more fulfilling and positive present, a positive future, no matter what our past looks like.
Exactly. It's realizing we have the power to choose how we react to our regrets. And these sources, they offer a really helpful framework for doing just that.
Now, one thing both the podcast and the prayer emphasize is forgiveness. And not just forgiveness from a higher power, but also forgiving ourselves.
Forgiveness, whether it's from a divine source or from within, it seems to be absolutely essential to healing from regret. It allows us to let go of that guilt and shame that often comes with past mistakes.
Absolutely. And that freedom is
Yeah.
so important because it allows us to step into a new chapter of our lives, a chapter not defined by those past mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's about reclaiming our identity and recognizing our own worth.
And it's not just about, receiving forgiveness either. It's about offering it to ourselves too. Holding on to self-blame and resentment that just keeps us trapped in that cycle of regret.
Yeah, you're so right. It's like we're holding ourselves hostage to our own past mistakes.
Exactly.
Self-forgiveness, it's key to breaking free and finding that true healing. And I really appreciate how these sources approach this whole thing with like so much compassion.
Yeah, it's not denying the reality of what happened or pretending our mistakes didn't have an impact. It's more about acknowledging them, learning from them, and then choosing to move forward with grace and forgiveness.
One thing that really struck me was the emphasis on grace.
Mm,
The sources talk about it as this like all-encompassing, always available resource
right.
for healing and transformation.
And what's interesting is it's not just about being pardoned for the past.
Right.
It's about being empowered in the present and guided towards a brighter future.
Yeah.
It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing source
Yeah.
of strength,
Yeah.
and renewal.
And that ties in with the whole embracing new beginnings,
Yeah.
which is right there in the title of the podcast, right?
Exactly.
It's like even when we mess up, even when we make choices we regret, there's still this opportunity for a fresh start.
It's like hitting that reset button,
Yeah.
a chance to rewrite the narrative of our lives. And it doesn't mean erasing the past. It's about choosing to focus on the possibilities that lie ahead.
And that prayer really captures that sense of hope,
Mm.
renewal. It's almost like a declaration of independence from regret.
I love the language in it. My past no longer holds me, and I am free to live the life you intended for me.
Yeah.
It's a statement of faith,
Yeah.
but it's also a commitment to a future filled with grace and purpose.
It's like shedding an old skin,
Yeah,
stepping into, a newer, more authentic version of ourselves.
exactly.
And speaking of stepping into a new version of ourselves, the podcast has some practical advice
Yes, it does.
on how to actually let go of regret and move forward.
Right. It's not just abstract concepts.
Yeah.
It gives us concrete steps to put these principles into practice.
Like starting each day by surrendering your regrets.
Mm.
Such a simple act, but so powerful.
It's about releasing that burden, right?
Yeah.
And inviting grace into the situation.
And it's not a one-time thing. It's about making that a daily practice.
Right.
Letting go and choosing to trust in something bigger than ourselves.
Cultivating that mindset.
Yeah.
Surrender. Letting ourselves be guided by something beyond our own limited perspective.
The podcast also talks about meditating on positive affirmations or words of encouragement. And honestly, I think that's something anyone can do, regardless of their religious beliefs.
Absolutely.
It's about finding those words that resonate with you, those words that offer hope and strength,
Yes.
and choosing to focus on them, really letting them sink in.
It's intentionally shifting that internal dialogue
Yeah.
from self-criticism and doubt, to affirmation and belief.
Reminding ourselves of our worthiness and
Yeah.
our potential, even when we're feeling, bogged down by regret.
Yeah.
And I love the suggestion of setting small, purposeful goals.
Yeah.
It's such a practical way to shift our focus from the past to the future.
It is. It's about breaking down those big, overwhelming feelings of regret into manageable actions,
Yeah.
We start to feel empowered to make positive changes in the present. It's about reclaiming our agency and choosing to create a future aligned with our values or aspirations.
And then there's the idea of celebrating small wins. It's so easy to get caught up in what we haven't accomplished, the mistakes. We forget to acknowledge the progress we're making along the way.
Yeah, and celebrating those small wins, that's crucial. Maintaining motivation and building momentum,
Right.
It reinforces those positive changes we're making and helps us stay focused on the journey rather than getting bogged down by the setbacks or the lingering regrets.
It's about cultivating an attitude of gratitude,
Exactly.
recognizing that even amidst the challenges, there are things to be thankful for,
Yeah.
moments of progress to celebrate.
And finally, the podcast highlights the importance of finding community and encouragement, sharing our struggles with others who understand and can support us. That can be so healing.
It's like that African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
Having that support system can make such a difference.
It creates a space where we can be vulnerable,
Yeah.
share our regrets without judgment,
Right.
a space where we can receive encouragement, guidance from others who've been through similar things.
And you know that support can come from all sorts of places. Even if we don't have a strong religious community, there are still people in our lives
Absolutely.
who can offer love, understanding, a listening ear.
It's about recognizing that we don't have to go through this alone.
Right.
There are people who care, people who want to see us succeed, people who are willing to walk alongside us
Yeah.
on this journey of healing and growth.
These sources really highlight the power of connection, and they offer such a hopeful message. that even in the middle of regret, there's a path forward, a way to find healing, embrace a brighter future. So we've talked about a lot, from like the Bible's take on regret to the whole power of prayer and forgiveness, even some practical steps for moving on.
Yeah, we have.
But as we wrap up, I'm curious, what do you think are the big takeaways here? What's the core message?
It's interesting, right? All these different sources, and they seem to come together on a few key things.
Hmm.
Regret, it's
Yeah.
part of being human, but it doesn't have to define us. We
Right.
actually have a choice in how we respond to it, and there's a way to heal and move forward. A mix of faith, forgiveness, and focusing on the now, the future.
I love that even if someone's not religious, there's still wisdom here.
Absolutely.
Self-reflection, acceptance, focusing on what we can control. Those are universal.
Totally. It's realizing we all make mistakes. And those mistakes, they don't have to run our lives.
Yeah.
We can learn, we can grow, and we can create a future that matches what we really care about.
It's like we're given this permission slip to let go of the past,
Mm-hmm.
embrace a new beginning. No matter what we believe or what happened before, it might not be easy, but it's possible.
It all starts with a choice. Acknowledging the past, learning, and letting go of its hold on us. It's about choosing to be present, appreciating the good, gratitude,
Yeah.
and then stepping into the future with hope, belief in ourselves, that we can make positive change.
That choice can feel big sometimes, like climbing a mountain. But we don't have to go it alone. We've got people who care, people who want to help. And there are resources to guide us.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about. What's one tiny step you can take today to start letting go of a regret that's been weighing you down? Maybe it's a talk you need to have, a letter to write, or just deciding to forgive yourself.
Whatever that step is, take it. You deserve to live free from that weight. And remember, you've got the power to create a brighter future, one step at a time. Thanks for joining us, everyone.